अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाजरीन, उम्मीद करती हूँ कि आप सब खैरियत से होंगे। हमेशा की तरह आपकी सहेली, आपकी दोस्त हिना जुनेद जो आपकी खिदमत में दोबारा से हाजिर है सहेली प्रोग्राम के साथ। नाजरीन, माजरत चाहती हूँ कि पहले जिस तरह आप जानते हैं कि हमारा प्रोग्राम 4 से 5 के दरमियान हुआ करता था, अब हमने उसको 1 घंटा जो है वो थोड़ा सा आगे कर दिया है, पोस्टपोन कर दिया है। तो इंशाल्लाह फ्रॉम दिस वीक ऑनवर्ड्स you'll be watching us every week, same day, Monday between 5 to 6. So that was one update I thought I'd give you in case if you'd been trying to look us, find us on board between 4 to 5. So now from now on, going forward, we will be airing the same program between 5 to 6 inshallah. So नाजरीन, आज हमारे साथ जो गेस्ट स्पीकर्स हैं वो उनमें से 2 अदद जो हैं वो नथानियल और एलिस फिश जो है रिवरसाइड परफॉर्मिंग आर्ट्स से ताल्लुक़ रखते हैं, और सलीना साहिबा जो हैं वो आज हमारे साथ एज अ पेरेंट कन्वर्सेशन करेंगी, अपने राय का इजहार करेंगी। और जो हमारा आज का टाइटल है वो एक ऐसा टाइटल है नाजरीन कि जो कि बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है आजकल, और स्टेटिस्टिकली भी हम देख रहे हैं कि जो वायलेंट क्राइम्स हैं उन्हीं के कैटेगरी के अंदर जो है ये एक स्पेसिफ़िक टाइटल भी फॉल इनटू करता है कि जिसमें हमारी जो यूथ है, हमारे जो बच्चे हैं वो गलत रास्ते पर निकल जाते हैं, यानी कि वो ड्रग्स के अंदर उनकी इन्वॉल्वमेंट हो जाती है। इनिशियली इस तरह से शायद कुछ सिलसिला शुरू होता है कि बच्चे पहले उससे यूज्ड टू होना शुरू हो जाते हैं, मानूस होने शुरू होते हैं। दे प्रॉब्ली जस्ट कम फॉर द स्टाइल एंड इवेंचुअली दे स्टे फॉर द टेस्ट, एंड आफ्टर दैट फिर आई थिंक सेकंड स्टेज इस तरह से कुछ होता है कि वो फिर बाइंग एंड सेलिंग के चक्कर में भी पड़ जाते हैं। तो जो भी कोर्स ऑफ और डिस्कोर्स ऑफ एक्शन इन बच्चों का रहता है, हम आज के प्रोग्राम में ये कवर करेंगे कि हमारी यूथ क्यों इस तरफ जो है वो माइल हो रही है ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा। वाई आवर यूथ, आवर यंगर जनरेशन गोइंग डाउन दैट रूट, what are the triggers that are pushing them to go down that route, and then besides not only touching upon the triggers, we would also like to know that what is the realistic impact that this drug abuse is having on our younger generation and the generations to come. And so then inshallah, in lieu of that, without further ado, I would like to introduce my guest speakers to you, and then inshallah we'll be asking them the questions whereby they'd be better able to highlight or give us more details along the lines of the topic inshallah. So welcome on board Nathaniel Baloo, Alice Fish and Selina Halif. Welcome on board, guys. How are you today?
Yeah, good. Thanks so much for having us. It's really good to be here.
Anytime. Thank you for coming on board, making time and joining us. Definitely it's a very, very serious subject that we're going to be talking about today. But before we dive straight into it, I would like you to give me an idea of Riverside Performing Arts, because you both have essentially created that space, and you're maximizing on it and you're making best use of it in the sense that under the Riverside Performing Arts, your recent drama by the name of Not for Sale that you've created, we'll be talking about what was the motivation behind that. And but yeah, before we get into that, if you could explain to us that what was the first motivation to create Riverside Performing Arts?
Yeah, so Nathaniel and I are from Riverside Performing Arts. We are a Christian theatre company based in Moseley, Birmingham. We just believe that the creative arts is a fantastic tool to teach children and young people sets of values and morals, and also to inform them of social issues. So we have a range of performances that we take out to primary schools, where we teach them kindness, friendship, sharing, and they often follow storylines from well-known children's storybooks. Going on to secondary schools, we go into more social issues, so looking at modern day slavery, what that looks like today, and also healthy relationships, how we can have healthy relationships with our families, our friends, partners. And there's 5 of us all together, and we all kind of have different roles within the theatre company. But we are all actors, directors, we write our scripts, we produce songs and music and dance for the performances. So yeah, we just really believe that firstly, we want to inform our children and young people, and equip them with the tools to approach certain situations in their life. Then we want to encourage them to be passionate about things, to be passionate about their world and their future. And finally, we want to show them love. We want them to know what love is, that they are loved, and to teach them how to love one another. So I think they're probably 3 key things: to inform, to encourage, and to love.
Excellent. And what better medium than performing arts? Because you may go on a rant, or maybe, you know, have these informative sessions. You can tell them as much as you can tell them, but there's just so much information that they can retain. However, if you're performing and showing it to them, I'm sure the retention span is going to be great, and the impact is going to be huge and immeasurable as well. So thank you very much for, you know, stepping forward and bringing forth something along the similar lines for our youth. Nathaniel, what do you have to say?
Yeah, so I think the company itself, Riverside Performing Arts, has been around since 1996, 1997, but for a long time it was also kind of a training program, and only last year it kind of transitioned to become a really professional theatre company, and kind of it dropped the training program just for a time. And so both of us have drama school training in different forms of acting.
Excellent.
And so taking that forward, we both are passionate ourselves, and with the other people on our team are passionate about the different issues that we address in these shows. And I think I'm speaking for myself. I did a bit of freelance acting for a while, and there were some times when I thought, what's the point of this? Why am I doing this? Who is it for? And so I think actually coming on board with this company made me realize, when you can use this gifting, you can use performing arts for a purpose, for a message, to point people in the right direction of how can we be working better together as a community, how we can be helping one another better, suddenly it becomes so much more fulfilling.
Absolutely. And the fact that we've done a featured film together, you know, and the impact of that was immeasurable.
Absolutely.
And the one with Knife Crime has actually won an award by the UN Habitat under the category of bettering communities, and there were 37 global nominations. So congratulations, you know, on that as well.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Luckily, we all were a part of it, actually, including Sunina. I still can't forget that terrible nudge you gave me. I was all over the place. Oh, blimey, where did that come from? But yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's really encouraging for me to hear, and I'm sure, you know, our audience would be benefiting and feeling extremely, you know, thrilled as well that there are these kind of avenues which on the lighter side our children can go and participate as well. So I reckon that you guys, apart from just doing these performances and dramas, touching upon the different issues or challenges or taboos prevalent in our communities, is there a way that you guys also reach out to youth in different age groups to create greater awareness, maybe workshops, away days that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, so I mean, especially with the shows that we take to secondary schools and above, because they tend to be a bit more hard-hitting in terms of the topic. So let's take Not For Sale, for example, and it really talks about and addresses county lines and drug trafficking, and how easily young people in this community can get swept up into that. And the show isn't enough itself. The show opens a door, and people will watch it, they might laugh at some bits because they're funny, and then they really get the message, and then afterwards we always have follow-up workshops to then go, right, this is what you saw, now let's unpack it and go, what did you feel when you saw that? What did you learn? How could that be better? How could we make sure this doesn't happen? And then we get them discussing amongst themselves how they can make it better. Yeah,
I think the impact would be huge at a deeper level, because something coming straight from the horse's mouth. Yeah. You were saying something, Alice?
It's just really good to see young people out after a performance actually really wanting to engage with us as performers. We're new to their school, we're in for one day, they don't know us, they don't necessarily feel comfortable around us, but there's something about watching the performance to then us saying, you know, we're here now, you can be vulnerable and just talk about something that you've picked up. and they often have a lot of questions and possibly, you know, topics that aren't talked about in school because, you know, schools have to stick to their curriculum and it's very specific what they do day to day, whereas coming in and being able to give that opportunity, I think maybe it sticks more with them because it's something that comes in out of the blue. It just gives them an opportunity to open up and actually explore the challenging things in our world.
They feel as if this is somebody new who doesn't know us and they're not going to judge us. So, you know, that breaks the barriers over there as well. And that's the main ethos of performing arts anyways, breaking barriers, you know, just coming out in the open as your real self, you know, as raw and real as possible. So, I'm sure it's a very satisfying feeling, you know, when students come over to you and they're able to relate with the messages that you're sharing, be able to unpack, unravel, you know, just peel off the layers of their challenges in their personal lives. How many stories would you, you know, be able to listen to, and how many times would you've had a heartache, you know, that, oh my gosh, there's so much going on, and how come we were unaware, you know?
That's very frequent. I think we went into a school recently and we were just asking them, it was a bunch of 13-year-olds actually, for how many of you is this an issue? Do you feel like this is an issue? And all of them put their hand up, or like they know of it. You know, you think younger and younger, everyone has phones, everyone is like exposed to so much more than we realize, and actually it's hard to not come away feeling the burden of how can we be letting our young people go through this?
What can we do to contribute and help ease these things out for them? So if you look at the same situation, Selena, from a parent's perspective, what might your concerns be? I know you're a mom of 4 boys. None of them is yet in their teenagers, but obviously inshallah they will be in their teenagers in a couple of years time, and whatever they're being exposed to today is going to be building the foundation for them. So as a parent, what is your concern? What do you think? Are they having good exposure at the school? Is the curriculum covering all of this? Was there a need for a company like theirs, Riverside Performing Arts, to, you know, tackle or touch upon these issues? What would you like to share as a parent?
Absolutely. I think the Performing Arts Initiative is a great one. I mean, if we go back about 10 years, I did some theatre work, and I was part of a play where it wasn't drug related, but I played a character of someone who was raped by her father. And that's a play that we took to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and we toured around. And it's amazing how many people from the audience can relate to that. And when you do work like that, and after the show people come up to you and say, this is what happened to me and this is how I've suffered, it's really rewarding to think that what the show that you've put on, it's not just for entertainment, but it's allowing the audience to relate to that and feel that they're not alone in this.
Absolutely.
So it's a really, really powerful tool to put the message across, for sure. With the school system, I think I've got boys, and the concern I have with the school system is that it doesn't acknowledge that girls and boys do learn differently. They develop differently, and my observation has been that what comes naturally to boys is often labelled, is given negative labels, whether they're hyperactive, whether they're they can't sit still, and that's just part of boys' development. And when they get labelled negatively from a young age, practically from when they start school, their behaviours are labelled, they start to suppress themselves to become agreeable with their teachers and educators, and even at home. And when they're suppressing that, obviously that has to come out at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
And sometimes that will be through aggression, it will be even through illness or self-harm. And then you see, and then if you link that to even the suicide rates of men as well. So I think if we are to change things, I think working at the grassroots levels, where we look at the education system and see how we can change it to, or alter it slightly so that it serves both girls and boys. In a positive way. And if that means that their learning styles are different, then we should have that flexibility. It never is a one-size-fits-all. So the more flexibility there is in the education system, I think that will serve both girls and boys better. And not shaming them for what comes naturally. So having that awareness, I think most teachers are females, so they will look at things from their perspective.
Yeah.
But if, as educators, we learn about, especially child development of the opposite gender, and how they learn and how different they are, we can then work accordingly and facilitate education that will meet their needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And definitely not label them in negative ways.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, yeah. No, that's a very critical point that you've picked up on. Thank you very much for that. So, according to, or in your opinion, Alice and Nathaniel, obviously you perhaps keep traveling up and down the country, taking your programs with you. What kind of patterns have you picked up on? What's the current situation like on ground? What's the reality of our youth today?
Do you want to share about Scotoma in terms of like...
Yeah, sure. So in our in Not For Sale, our modern day slavery show, we have a couple of scenes in the performance that's about something called scotomas. And this is scientifically proven that we can have something that goes on in our brain that basically creates a blind spot. So we can convince ourselves of something, whatever that is, whether you have told yourself that you can't find a top that you left on the floor, and you can't find it, you've told yourself it's not on the floor, but actually, you know, I could be doing that and Nathaniel could point out that the top is there on the floor, but my brain had told myself, had kind of convinced me that it didn't exist anymore. So we're finding through our research with speaking with local schools that this happens with victims of county lines. So young people are approached by exploiters, really, often in gangs, drawn into the drug trade. And the young people have convinced themselves that it's a good thing because their exploiters are winning them over with all sorts of things, especially money or new trainers, new jackets, and really wanting them to to feel as if they are part of the family.
What do you have to say about it, Selena?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and you see so many of them are from care homes or from broken homes where they haven't had that nurturing, they haven't had that love, care and affection. And around age sort of 7 to 10, when boys especially, they're looking for a male role model, and you have this person comes in and says that, you know, is buying you things and luring you in, you have that. And then they're telling you that you're a good boy, we're proud of what you're doing, and they're getting that validation that I mean something and my feelings mean something. Someone is listening to me, someone is giving me attention, someone is giving me time. They're going to be drawn to that because they're not getting that elsewhere.
So basically their vulnerability is being taken undue advantage of. And so can we safely say that the triggers then at that tender age of, you know, 7, the triggers are perhaps lying in the home only, because that's basically the first institute for any child? That's where the child gets exposed. Do you think that, as you mentioned, you know, broken homes, so definitely then the parents, the way that they're bringing up their children, there needs to be a different kind of a, you know, discourse of action. For example, if they've got their personal grudges, you know, between themselves, if they're emotionally turbulent or whatever, perhaps they should keep it on the side and try to not wash their dirty linen in front of the children. Maybe pick it up at some other time and, you know, just project themselves to be educated couples and talk and communicate, you know, on a level playing field and not in front of the children, because obviously kids don't realize, in their mind it's their parents. They don't want to know who's right and who's wrong and what's going on. All they want is love and nourishment and nurturing from their parents, and they want a complete household, a complete family in their eyes. No riots, no rants, no ravings in the house. So perhaps do you think we can blame parents for being the first party to expose the children or push them towards being vulnerable?
Personally, I don't think we can only blame the parents. I think as a community, as a society, everyone has their role to play in raising children. You know, there's the old saying, the old proverb about it takes a village to raise a child, and I believe that that is so true. We can't only rely on parents and the social services to step in. When we also know that it's not just children from broken families that are vulnerable, because we were partnering with the Children's Society in Birmingham. They were saying that actually the people who are exploiting these children are looking at the areas. So if it's a really wealthy area, they will go for the wealthy children because they fit in there. And if it's a poor area, they'll go for the poor children. They're going to try and find the people who stand out the least and target them to transport drugs to wherever they need it.
Okay. Okay, so that means that we'll be you know, on the ground, to be able to experience people coming from different demographics and different kind of backgrounds as well, some from the poor community, some from the rich community, affluent community. So then, is the need for somebody coming from an affluent background to get indulged or involved into drugs different to then those who come from a poor background? Perhaps for them it's a need, a way of, you know, being able to earn something to bring back home, and perhaps in the same breath, for somebody who's coming from an affluent background, for them it's not a need and they go for it more for a status symbol, if you like.
Yeah, I don't think that there's an easy answer. I think that depending on the individual, depends why they get involved and how they get involved, and what their reasons are for that. Yeah, it's really tricky, and I think also there's environmental factors too, in terms of, you know, young children, young people, they want to impress their friends as well. So whether that's part of it, and
Peer pressure, trying to fit in.
And we've been finding actually with some local schools, really local schools, that teachers are now having to have extra teachers on playground duty in secondary schools, because children are being approached through the gates from you know, gang members or just exploiters, if we call them exploiters. Then you know, and so depending on where they're coming from, that child's background, yes, will definitely have a big factor towards that. But I think, you know, it could be anything.
So as parents, how can we identify that our child has gone down that road?
I think it's just having that open conversation with your children, and them knowing and having that trust in you that they can come to you with anything and not be judged for it. So having that safe space, creating that safe space for them. I mean, even in wealthy backgrounds, it's the time and the focus that we give to that child, and the love and the affection. And children, they can feel the neglect can be from a broken home. A child can feel neglected, and children can also feel neglected in more wealthier houses due to you know, work commitments and other commitments. Sometimes parents aren't able to give that time. And then you have sort of, I think, youth centres that are closing down, especially here in Birmingham. There's been quite a few youth centres that have been closed down. There's not enough mentorship, whether that's in the education system, whether that's in the family. We're lacking good role models that children can look up to and engage with and aspire to be like. And I think there should be some more mentorship programs in schools, in the homes, and even on a community level. There's this really good initiative in America that I came across, where there's a charity organization, and you can choose someone. They have a portal online, and you can choose a mentor for your child, whether that's like a big brother or whether it's a successful business person. You go on there, there are profiles on there, and obviously they've been vetted. And they have all the checks and everything have been done.
Similar kind of a program, sorry I'm cutting you, similar kind of a program, we do have them, you know, prevalent locally as well. Girls Network, for example, they're the same, you know, they've got these mentorship schemes running in the schools, and then they match up, you know, based on the need of the child, they match them up with a coach or a mentor. And then obviously they're vetted, they've gone through their DBS checks and everything, the advanced ones. And after that, then they can set up their own meetings, private meetings with that student, perhaps if they want to meet up, you know, in the school premises or in their home, not homes or somewhere else, you know, in a public place, not in a private place. So yeah, I mean, what you're talking about, and I was, you know, part of the same network as well as
it's
a mentor.
great, but a lot of them they don't get the funding. That's one issue, and secondly, if there are projects like that available, there are huge waiting lists as well. So the demand is there,
huge,
but we haven't got enough people sort of coming forward and saying we'll give some of our time to mentor children. I mean, even anyone in the community, if they can just give like 1 hour a week to some sort of mentorship program to help children in the community, that would be such a huge help.
True. And so then why do we necessarily lean on the systems to provide that? Why can we not, as individuals, as community members, as you said, that we have our responsibility as well to nurture and raise our children, regardless whether it's our bloodline child or it's somebody else. It's a child at the end of the day in the community, and we're all part and parcel. Why are we waiting for that change to come to us so that then we can impart the same change in the community? Why can we not begin from home as individuals? Why can we not start giving these mentoring sessions if somebody comes to us? Nazreen, जहाँ तक मेरा सवाल है, सलीना का भी, I'm sure we're very much approachable. आपको पता है, अगर आप हमें ढूंढेंगे तो आप किसी भी सोशल मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म पे हिना जुनेजो को, सलीना हनीफ को, नथानियल बलू को और एलिस फिश को ढूंढ सकते हैं. प्लीज़ फील फ्री टू अप्रोच अस अगर आपको अपने बच्चों के लिए किसी भी किस्म की गाइडेंस की, एडवाइस की या मेंटरिंग की और कोचिंग की ज़रूरत है. So without even having asked you guys, I've just put you on spot. I've spoken to my audience and I've told them to feel free to reach out to you in case if they need their role models for their children, if they need mentors, if they need coaches, or if they need role models, or for that matter, if they want their children to, become a part and parcel of a community where they can proudly say that we belong to Riverside Performing Arts. So that's what I've told them just now. It's very interesting that you've touched upon the county lines. Would you like to unravel a bit more along those lines, please?
Yeah. So, I mean, I will do that, but also draw upon kind of what Selena has already said. We recently went through the 2-day youth mental health first aid training, and I think it was really eye-opening for us in terms of understanding the brain and how it's developing during that process. And recognizing that there's a huge spike in dopamine as someone is adjusting as a teenager, and not only is their body changing, their brain and how it's developing is changing as well. And so all of a sudden, with all these changes, there's such a vulnerability with that. And sometimes that includes irrational behavior. Sometimes that's why teenagers can be tricky. I was a teenager once. I know what it's like. But I think ultimately, if you build those good relationships, you really hit the nail on the head earlier about wanting that sense of belonging, wanting to feel valued. And I think actually as people, we crave that more than money or more than anything. We want to feel like we have a place, that we are part of a family, that we belong. And so if gangs and these kind of county line operations are offering that, that can be more appealing than anything else they can offer. And like you were saying earlier, there can suddenly become a blind spot if they start to get abused. They can go, well, they're my friends. I know they keep telling me they're my friends. They look after me. They buy me things. They care for me. They're my friends. But it's like, well, no, they don't treat you well. They're definitely exploiting you. They're my friends. Because that's all I can see, And so with the element of family and friends, how to intervene with that, well, it is building those honest, open relationships of going, because we love you, we want the best for you, there needs to be an element of, sometimes we need to know what are you doing on your phone? What are you hiding in your room? If there's a new pair of shoes, I need to know about it because it's not an invasion of privacy when it's actually, I care about your safety. But yeah, it's a really tricky one.
Very, very tricky, because I've got teenagers, at home as well, and I know how difficult it is for me to even reach out to them. Forget about building a conversation. 1 minute of their private time for me is very, very difficult for me to take from their life. To them, it's like, okay, it's one of those things, and a mom is on a rant again. Whereas that's not the case. We only mean well. So how can we get through to our children? Awareness would come later. The first thing is, as you said, to be able to, build that element of trust with them, create an open, transparent space for them whereby they don't feel that they're going to be judged or they're going to be told off. At the end of the day, they are our children. We need to embrace them. We need to keep an open eye on their activity, the timings that they're going out, what times they're coming back, and if we see anything, indifferent happening to the regular usual routine that they have, then immediately alarm bells should go off. And all of that, as a parent, we can do. But if a child, has got their guard up constantly all the time, then that could be one big, what would I say, a sign for us to pick up on. However, how difficult it is to get through to that child. So how can we manage to do that?
I think get them involved in clubs from a young age. What we tend to do, we wait till they're teenagers, and then even if we put them in clubs, for example, martial arts at the age of 12, 13, they're going into a class where children have probably been attending since they're 5, 6. So they might feel intimidated that this is new to me and there's experts in this class. They might go to 1 or 2 classes and then they won't be passionate about it anymore. So getting them involved in other alternative activities, extracurricular activities from a young age.
So again, they'll have that sense of belonging to a community, to a clan, to a family outside their family, and that's what they want.
And they can build a good network of friends around that as well. And also from an NLP perspective, when a child is in that situation, you'll know that they're operating from like a value level 3, which is more like survival, and it's very much fear driven, and they can't see ahead of sort of 2 weeks. And as a parent, if you're saying don't do this because if you will end up in prison and this is what's going to happen, you won't get a job, they can't look beyond 2 weeks.
Because they're focused on short-term agility.
Exactly. So telling them that what could happen long-term, it's not going to help.
They're literally killing it in their language. We're killing it one day at a time.
So showing them the benefits, how it can benefit them within like a 2-week span would have a better impact than telling them that, okay, if you continue, what could happen in a year or 2 years' time. That's not something they'll be able to comprehend.
Cause and effect, basically. Have your conversations with your children or the community at large based on the cause and effect principle. Always make them understand and realize that, look, this is the effect that it's going to have based on the actions that you are taking.
And the thing with criminals, they're giving them a clear consequence that if you don't do this, we will kill you and we will probably kill your family. And they know what the clear consequences are.
So the fear factor.
And with the justice system, with the police, what they're saying, and they're saying on a public platform, is unfortunately we don't have the resources or the funding to reach all of these victims. So we could probably rescue some, but there's no guarantee that they'll be able to, what the outcome is going to be. It's not as clear as what the criminals give. So as a child, if you're thinking, well, if I go to the police, I don't know what the outcome's going to be. It could be anything. Whereas I know what the outcome is going to be if I go against the criminal.
So you do, you're done for. You don't do it, you're still going down, the doom route. So bless them, they don't have any choice.
There's that guilt
really.
of getting their family getting involved. Because of what I've done, my family is in danger. They'll if they've gone into debt, you have criminals who will get these children, they'll get them jumped and they'll get them beaten up and get the drugs taken away from them, then say that you now owe us £3,000. And now that child is going to continue working, hoping that I can pay that debt off. And that just keeps them stuck.
It's a shame, really. It hurts, really hurts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives all the children, hidayah, makes it easy for them.
Unfortunately, we don't, as a society, we don't tend to sympathize with them as much. For example, when we look at grooming of children when it comes to sexual exploitation, there is that empathy and sympathy towards them, that they've been targeted and they've been groomed. But when we look at children who have been groomed into crime, you'll often hear, you'll see videos of children committing crime going viral. You'll hear people on social media saying, throw them into prison, throw away the key, what kind of upbringing have they had? There'll be insults towards their parents. So we become very judgmental despite their age, even if it's a 10, 11-year-old child. We become very judgmental, and we don't consider the fact that they may have been groomed into where they've got to today.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree to that, yeah, 100%. So in terms of your program, Not For Sale, when is it going to be out on the loose, if you like? When can we watch it? Where can we watch it?
So it's a piece of live theatre, and at the moment we actually received a grant to be able to perform 20 free shows across schools, but also other venues.
Excellent.
And so we're making the most of that, and it's a huge privilege to have that. And so, yes, we're in the midst of that kind of tour. We're touring kind of over the next few weeks, but also in May again as well. So in schools, but we're absolutely welcome to have other venues invite us in, some youth clubs as well. Sometimes we go and perform too. And that's just one of the shows that we kind of do. Our hope is to kind of continue to take that on, and you know, see where it goes, because it is a really important. I mean, just discussing here, we can see how important the issue is.
Sure. So, say for example, if there are any children or families who want to come and take benefit from the show and also become a part of the workshops that you're going to do post the program, where can they come and attend? Because I understand you said that you go to different schools, but what if you've not been to their school? Because it's just the two of you and your team, but the demand is huge, which I'm sure you guys by yourself won't be able to fulfill. So if I had to bring my children and Selena had to bring her kids, where can we come to watch your program, and how can we benefit from the workshops?
That's a really great question. We're currently in the process of arranging some public performances for that.
Okay.
All that information we'll keep updated on our website, because you're absolutely right. We want to have this open to as many people as possible to be able to discuss this issue and raise more awareness about it. So yeah, at the moment there's nothing solid in terms of a public opportunity and a workshop, but we're definitely working towards getting that.
Okay, so if we had to, make arrangements for it, what would be required from you guys to come and perform? What do we need to do for that? Venue, definitely.
Venue. To promote it to everybody that that would want to be.
So an Eventbrite, and then through that people can register, so we know how many enrollments are in place.
And actually, in terms of like tickets, we could do that through our website, so that we can work that out. Pick a date. It's to be honest, it's having the venue and getting the interest and having a date.
And at the moment, we still have a couple more shows that we could offer for free with the grant. So
anybody can come.
Okay, excellent. Now I'm glad we've picked up on this, because I'm thinking, Selena, that between the two of us at least, we would agree that it's something that we are both quite wary of. We're concerned, and we're actively working towards helping ourselves, our generation, and other friends that we know, families that we know, who are concerned along the same lines for their children. So this is going to be a huge opening for them if we can, make this happen. So inshallah, Nazreen, अगर आप भी चाहते हैं कि हम जो हैं वो इनके परफॉर्मिंग आर्ट्स के प्रोग्राम को जो है वो अवेयरनेस क्रिएट करने के लिए आपके बच्चों के लिए, आपके लिए, आप तक लेकर आएँ, तो प्लीज़ आप हमें कॉल इन कीजिए. हमें आपसे और कुछ भी नहीं चाहिए सिवाय इसके कि हमें आपका इंटरेस्ट चाहिए, कि आप इंटरेस्टेड हैं और आप पार्टिसिपेट करना चाहते हैं. तो अगर हमारे पास 15-20 लोग जमा हो जाते हैं जो कि इंटरेस्टेड हैं इस प्रोग्राम को देखने में और उसको प्रमोट करने में, तो इंशाल्लाह हम इस प्रोग्राम को आप तक लेकर आएंगे. So yeah, it will be really nice. I mean, I've just told the audience that if you're able to gather together 15, 20, 25 old people who will be able to benefit from this performance, then we can definitely give you guys a shout. So bearing in mind we're left with 10 more minutes, any message that you would like to share with the audience?
Well, I think we in discussing and coming on this program, we were talking quite a bit, and as a company, Riverside Performing Arts, we're based in Moseley, but we're so aware that our neighbours and our community, we're all one kind of South Birmingham. We want to be conscious of being one community.
Yeah, sure.
And regardless of our difference in background or even our different faiths, we can agree that our community deserves better.
Certainly.
And we can agree that we can be doing more to reach our young people and to be helping them.
Definitely.
So I think personally I'm just so excited about the different ways we can be partnering to do that, and seeing the world change, even if it's one young person at a time.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think also that we can all inform ourselves of terrible situations that are going on in our world, but right here in Birmingham, because actually I've got some kind of facts about human trafficking and slavery.
Would you please like to share them with us?
We all think that in Great Britain slavery was abolished in 1833, but it wasn't. It's happening right now. It's on our doorsteps, and I think it's maybe, well, it is. It's more secret. We don't see it as often, but that's why we're having this conversation. We're making ourselves aware that it's happening. So everybody out there, we need to be informing ourselves and each other that this is happening. Slavery is the second largest criminal activity, which is just so high. That shows how much is going on. So I just think that informing ourselves is the most important thing, because when we inform ourselves, we get passionate, and we want to make a change, and we care about each other and our lives, and I think that's what I would say.
And in terms of facts as well, and this is stuff that we bring through the show, there are roughly 13,000 people in slavery in the UK today. A quarter of those are children. And so you hear those statistics and you think,
your heart comes out of your mouth.
That is just, it's unacceptable.
I mean, I can clearly see that, the pattern, that the stats is so high, and then obviously the impact on mental health. Hence the reason 1 out of 5 in every family is down with depression and anxiety and stress. So mental health is also presumably high because of these things. Because you see, it's not that one person who's addicted with drugs. Perhaps when they end up marrying or whatever the status quo may be, they've got a child, and perhaps if the mum is also addicted, whilst they're bearing the child in their womb, it would automatically have a trickle-down effect on that baby as well, on not only on the mother and the father's mind, but on the baby's mind as well. So what kind of products are we basically creating? What kind of humans are we creating, through this system of ours? That even before they're born, we've already exposed them to mental health issues. And so then what do we expect once they're out and about into this world? It's just going to get worse before it gets any better. If it does, that is. So mental health is huge, and I think that we can link that element with this drug abuse and county lines as well.
Yeah, I think definitely as well, just off of what you've said there, that those who are involved in human trafficking, county lines, imagine the impact, even if they do get out, the impact that could have on their mental health for potentially the rest of their lives, because they've been exposed to so much. There's also the mental health of their family and their friends. If they know that their child or a loved one is involved, like what's that going to do on the family? So it's just this increasing problem.
I think we need to start at grassroots levels and really start looking at child development from a young age, and acknowledge that we may not see the results for the next 10, maybe even 20 years, but just that we need that persistence where we're still we're striving to make that change. And even if we don't see it short term, definitely it will have an impact in the long run.
Definitely, I think to start from grassroots and start it small and make it big, is a good idea. And a couple of important things that we touched upon, or golden nuggets if you like, was start from a very young age. Be wary of their company. If you find any change in their pattern, be able to provide them safe space, talk to them more often, cuddle them more, make sure that they know that you love them, develop a healthy, trusting friendship relationship with your children. And that could be at any age and stage of your life. You don't necessarily need to wait until they, are teenagers, when they're able to understand your world from their perspective, from their viewpoint. And then you'd think that right now they match up to my, level. and now we can create synergies. You definitely enjoy your conversations with your children more then, because they'd be able to relate. But in order for them to understand you and your kind of world at that level, you need to create a foundation for them. So we need to definitely, Selena, you're right in saying that we need to work with them on a grassroots level. Obviously, if you take a, very common example, that when you are constructing a building, if the foundation is weak and has cracks in it, then in the longer term, you'll obviously, you know what to expect. That building is eventually going to crumble and, come down. So that's exactly what we're trying to say, that, you need to step up as parents, as a community, and take the responsibility, take charge of these different issues, different challenges that are prevalent in our community and are specifically, hitting hard and focused towards our youth. Please wake up and take responsibility, take charge. Even if it's not your own child, if it's somebody else's child in the community that you're seeing, being distracted and disrupted, please report it immediately and try to inform the parents as well. Don't feel that as though the parents are going to think that you're starting off a blame game over there. Try to make them understand where you're coming from and that you're only concerned about the child's safety and well-being, and that's about it. So as we mentioned earlier, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for coming on board and discussing this dire subject with us. And guys, if you want us to bring the Performance Art Theatre to you, Alice Fish and Nathaniel Baloo and their team, to create greater awareness amongst your family members and youth, please feel free to reach out to me, and inshallah we'll be able to bring the event for you to your doorstep. Until then, let's join hands together, and I'll be together with you to serve you next week, same day, Monday, same time, between 5 to 6. Assalamu alaikum.